I'm Luke Young, and this is Dragonheart.
Hello and welcome to Dragonheart. I am your host, Chay Long, and I am joined by Captain Whitchurch, Neil Williams, Bill Long, and Mark Griffiths, Disney's own Mark Griffiths. How are you all?
Good. I'm good. I got to say a sentence that I'd never said before on Sunday. I was getting served some chips in Pwllheli, and I was able to say to the woman as she handed the chips over, the smaller of your banjo-playing skeletons has fallen over. It's possibly the best day of my life. It was true.
I'm actually shocked that's the first time you've ever said that.
Yeah, you know what? Now I think about it, you're quite right.
How are you, Neil? How's things?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate. Yeah, all the better for the win last Saturday, but yeah, long trip down to Cornwall yesterday and heading back again Friday.
You love those long Cornish journeys, don't you?
Oh, I do. Yeah, 5.5 hours yesterday. It wasn't too bad.
Oh, it's not too bad.
So it wasn't a Cornish nasty.
All for a Cornish pasty, yeah.
Nothing wrong with Bill, how's things?
Yeah, good. Yeah, all good. Not much else to say, really. I've not done anything as exciting as watching a banjo skeleton fall over and go into Cornwall. I've just been working.
Yeah. It was the smaller.
Let's not waste any more time. We've got a lot.
Just to clarify, the larger one was fine. The larger one, as Don King would say, maintained verticality.
Anyway, now that Mark stopped yapping, we've got a lot to talk about this week. We've got the Wales game, we've got the Salford game, the Pwllheli game, and a few other little bits and bobs. So let's not waste any more time. This is Dragonheart.
I'm Neil Roberts, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, Welsh football was back home in its rightful place in the racecourse last Tuesday against Gibraltar in a stunning 4-0 win. Bill, me and you were there. It was a really good game, wasn't it? Against a side who were, very defensive minded.
Yeah, they came to try and spoil the party, and I think the way they played kind of killed the atmosphere in the second half, didn't it? A little bit, but all credit to the fans that were in the ground. The atmosphere for the anthem sounded absolutely incredible, didn't it? It was one of the, even considering everything that's been going on with Wrexham recently, that was one of the loudest I've heard the racecourse singing. It was something to behold, Chay, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the Welsh national anthem is always something amazing, and we played Gibraltar. Yes, they aren't the greatest of sides. I get that, but to be fair, France only beat them 3-0. Holland only beat them 3-0. It was important to get that win, wasn't it, Bill? For after we've had a ropey last few qualification games to get us on track for that game, which we did win against Croatia on the Sunday.
Yeah, definitely, and I think there was an element. I got to be honest. Like, there was an element of me and you were a little bit frustrated, weren't we, in the second half, thinking, why aren't we kind of stepping on the gas, so to speak, a little bit, and thinking why can't we at least get another or maybe even a sixth? But maybe that's just kind of being a little bit spoiled. And actually, in hindsight, they played that second half to ensure that nobody got injured in preparation for the Croatia game, and it paid off because what an absolutely fabulous result that was for the team. So fair play to Rob Page. He's coming for a lot of stick as Welsh manager, but he got both those games spot on, didn't he?
Yeah, he certainly did. Neil, how important is it to you and the country and the northern part of the country that Welsh football is returning to the racecourse, and hopefully this is a sign of things to come, that we'll be seeing more games, and hopefully games that mean more, so lower level qualification games.
I think it's very important to come back to North Wales. It's where the FAW was first founded in Wrexham. It was renowned. All the Wales games were at Wrexham for many a year. I mean, my first game, when I watched for Wales, I think it was against Russia in the 1980s, I think. I mean, North Wales has always been a hotbed for football, and it's just such a shame, that it hasn't come back up north for a number of years. It's all down either at Swansea or predominantly Cardiff, and I think it's a great, great for the Welsh public in North Wales for the team to be playing up there. And hopefully that will happen, like you said, a bit more often when we get this new stand built, when the capacity is a bit higher, and maybe bring some of the smaller games to Wrexham, because the atmosphere there is always second to none, always has been. And whenever we've gone to Cardiff or Swansea to watch Wales, it's always been more orientated between Swansea and Cardiff fans shouting against each other, where Wrexham's always been Wales full stop. And it's a great place, for Wales to come back to their roots to play football, and hopefully they'll come back many times again. And it was a changed team on Tuesday. I mean, he played a lot of youth players, and they had some great games on Tuesday. The young lads did, and they all came through unscathed, as you say, for the Sunday big game against Croatia, who were third in the world rankings, and beat them 2-1 for the first time in our history, I think.
100%. Mark, I can't help but feel that I think the Wrexham crowd were robbed of something that could have been quite special. Paul Mullen got picked for the backup squad. He was a backup player just in case anyone got injured. He could have come in and filled in. Me and Bill were both saying at the time, I think it would have been really, really special if he was to come on. I think the atmosphere would have been a lot better. The way Paul Mullen's playing, you've seen this Welsh team. Do you think he could? Do you think we could see Paul Mullen in a Wales top in the future?
Well, I certainly think that was a big chance to do that, and I'm a bit torn, if I'm honest. I do feel that Page has to pick the team that he's got faith in, and Page can't just be picking a local player for the heck of it. But having said that, I mean, Mullen maybe isn't quite up to speed yet either, but he's a quality striker, and certainly even if just coming off the bench, he's got the capabilities to do something, I think, in a match. He's got that all-round game, and he's got great vision, and he's got that big match mentality. So for me, he just feels like the sort of player, as a manager, you'd think, I want to take a punt on him. I almost wonder whether Page was thinking, well, if I give him a game against Liechtenstein, and let's be honest, playing against Liechtenstein, I accept you made very good points about good teams failing to score more than 3 goals against them. But it is shooting a fish in a barrel. I mean, my favourite part of the match was when that little cartoon kid from The Simpsons ran on after the 4th goal and said, stop, he's already dead. Because that was, I mean, Liechtenstein weren't interested in getting into our half, were they? So I wonder if Page had a slight thought in the back of his head of, if Mullen fills his boots against Liechtenstein, he's going to have a problem then when he doesn't pick him against Croatia, because everybody's going to have a go at him. And, his boss is having a go at him at the moment, which I think is really very wrong. But, I could understand him maybe being a bit cautious about that. So, yeah, I think it'd be lovely. And that was such an opportunity to do so. And it hasn't been taken. So, well, never mind. I do think, though, as well, I'd like to get more than just crumbs off the table from the Welsh FA. It feels like every time Wales play up here, there's a sort of celebration about how long it's been since the last time Wales played up here. And I can get the idea of playing the competitive games in Cardiff because they've got a good rhythm going there. They're used to playing there. They get results there. I have no issue with that whatsoever. But, can't you give us something better than Liechtenstein? The last game was Trinidad, which maybe I can accept.
Mark, it was Gibraltar.
Yeah, well, I mean, Liechtenstein, very much the Gibraltar of Europe, I feel. Man, that was smooth, wasn't it? Well, I mean, Gibraltar. Yeah, exactly. I mean...
You're right, though, because we not long ago, we played South Korea, and you mentioned this on the day, didn't you, Chay? Like, we played South Korea in a friendly, and okay, I know these schedules aren't as simple as saying, well, why can't we play them and all that? And I appreciate there's a lot more that goes into it, but it seems daft especially when Son played and there was all that link with the Wrexham thing and Son, and there's all sorts that just could have really fit into it all, and it as much as it was great, and I think hopefully it's a step in the right direction. It did feel like there was elements of it that were a missed opportunity, and I kind of agree with you, Chay. Before the game, I was a bit more reluctant for Mullin just to get a freebie cap. He should be getting it on merit rather than just, like you say, Mark, just giving a local lad a cap. But at the same time, I got a feeling at the game that in the past, Town's been electric when Wales would come in, especially that Trinidad and Tobago game. The pubs were full and there was loads of singing and all sorts. But I didn't really feel that because we get a big match atmosphere every week now in Wrexham.
Yeah,
and Wrexham has the potential to become a Wrexham only sort of place where the atmosphere is not as good. Because I mean, like you get a good game every week, and you're watching good football every other week or whatever it is. So yeah, at the game, it did really feel like the missing piece of the jigsaw was Mullin, wasn't it, Chay?
I agree. Yeah, Mullin or play a decent side. If we were playing Scotland or, I don't know, Ireland or someone, where there was a bit more quality on the pitch. Ireland would have been a good one. James McLean could have played at the racecourse for Ireland. I don't know. I think you are right, Mark. It was a bit of just sending crumbs our way. A more of a, even Northern Ireland or anyone, someone a little bit more competitive than Gibraltar would have been nice. But at the end of the day, Bill, it was just nice watching Wales at the racecourse, wasn't it?
Yeah, and how brilliant was it seeing the likes of Harry Wilson, Danny Ward, Nico Williams, even Charlie Savage, who wasn't born in Wrexham, but all his family are from Wrexham, probably missing a couple of others, but all these lads from around the area, northeast Wales, and Nathan Broadhead playing for, he's from Bangor, these are players who in the past we've struggled to have lads from North Wales, but it's nice, Neil, isn't it, to see people from the area getting Welsh caps?
Oh, definitely so. Yeah, I feel on the same with you guys. I think maybe it was a bit of a missed opportunity with Mullin because it was in the area, and I know a lot of the pundits have said, "Oh, he's just a Division 2 player," but to me that really doesn't matter. It's based on his quality of his play, and then we look at Savage. He was at Forest Green, so. Yeah, and he had an outstanding game, to be honest. And I think it's just a chance for him to get out there and maybe shine for the country and get that first cap under his belt. And as I say, I think the atmosphere would be far, far better. Because I watched it on the telly and I thought it was a bit flat. But if Mullin had been playing, I think it would have been great. Even if he come on just for one half. Missed opportunity. But for all the local lads that were playing here, I think it was fantastic. And there's a lad there, I think, from Corwin as well, who's playing in the Wales team, which is great to see, North Walian players in the Welsh squad and playing for the national team.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Neil. And, talking about more local players, another one I think he carries on playing as the way is playing will be maybe having calls up for the Wales squad as well as John Davis. Mm-hmm. And he had a cracking impact on the game last Saturday against Salford. So after this, we're going to talk about the Salford game.
I'm Steve Dale, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, Salford at home, another one of these absolute crazy games that we keep having at the racecourse. Mark, we keep doing these crazy comebacks against good sides. Pound for pound, you've got to say, Wrexham AFC's got to be the most exciting season ticket you can buy in the UK at the moment.
That's exactly how to put it, isn't it? 100%. I mean, frankly, she goes at both ends. Nothing's ever over till it's over. It's astonishing. And you'd be glad to know that, I've been, as I am a floating brain in a tank, I've been applying my mind to this game, and I found the reason why we do this. And it is, of course, caffeine. So the Stoke cold brew stand, we've scored 9 goals this season at that end after the 85th minute. Now, the only thing you can possibly put that down to is caffeine, isn't it? Just driving towards that coffee-filled stand just drives the players on, gives them that lift. It's got to be that. You scored 10 at the cop end, 15 at the cold brew end, 10 of the 15 at the cold brew end after the 79th minute, 10 of them after the 85th minute. Woof.
Imagine what our commentary would be like if we had our hands on Stoke cold brew coffee.
Yeah, imagine if they sponsored that stand too. Woo-wee. We'd be through the roof.
But Neil, what's your thoughts on the game as a whole? Because we keep having these mad games, don't we?
We do. Go on.
I was talking to the Salford one of the Salford media team crew after the game. And they were like, "Oh, that was madness. That was madness." And I was just like, "Yeah, it's pretty normal around here. It happened a lot."
Yeah, I just can't understand how we give the opposition a couple of goals lead all the time either. Our defence is shocking for like 20 minutes, and we allow them to score a couple of goals, and then we just seem to wake up and then kick into gear and off we go. We could have scored more than 3 goals on Saturday. Mullin missed 1-on-1 with the keeper just before half time on Saturday. We could have scored. We hit the post. We had so many opportunities, and I think a lot of fans have said, their hearts can't take this, and somebody else told me earlier in the week, they thought we were losing 2-1 in the 88th minute, and they thought, that's it, they've lost the game, and turned it off, listened to it, and then to hear that we'd won 3-2, which is it's happening, as Mark said, a lot this season. And going back to the crowds, every game, I think the statistics have come out that wherever we play, because of who we are and what we are, and I guess that the goals that we scored, even though we didn't score many at Mansfield, they've all had the biggest crowd of the season when Wrexham have come to town. I think Saturday at Bradford is going to be something like 26,000 there, which is phenomenal. But we're entertained. That's the main thing. They entertain us. They have that never give up attitude. But we made the subs on Saturday. We brought on Davis and we brought on Fletcher, and that seemed to, I think, Dalby come on as well and changed the game completely. And you could see them collapsing again deeper and deeper in defence, Salford. And I said to Chay, I think, when we scored the equaliser, I said, the captain's there saying, calm down, let's get our feet back, on the ball again. And then, less than a minute, we're back up again and scored the winner, which was, it is exciting, but you think, why did we go 2-0 down?
Well, it's so hard to explain. We keep on going through this game after game. It keeps just seems to happen that we make these mad comebacks. But Bill, I think a big reason why we make these big comebacks, and you sit in that stand, is that in the Stoke Cold Brew coffee stand, is that sort of belief in the crowd. We don't seem to really get on the backs of the players. where I do think, especially when we first got relegated into the conference and the last time we were in League Two, if we would go 2-0 down, then we'd probably end up losing 3 or 4-0. I really do think the fans play a real integral part to the way we play at home.
I've been sat in that stand pretty much since fans were sitting in that stand. I did have a season in the Mold Road after moving from the Cop, but there's a beautiful nostalgia about the Cop, and there's a lot of things that I miss about being in there. But the noise generated, I don't think, maybe this will be controversial to some people, but I don't think the noise that was ever generated, at least in my time being in the Cop, is anywhere near what happens in the Stoke Cold Brew coffee stand. It's the shape of it, that tin roof. It's sort of it helps. It's loud, but the acoustics in there are brilliant, and we kind of just suck the ball into the net, don't we? Whenever it gets those sort of last 10 minutes, I don't think fans have as much of an impact on football games as some people would like to think, but I genuinely think we scare the opposition. There's that, like you say about that belief, like the way we get behind them, it really sort of generates a belief in the likes of Mullin and Lee and Davis, and they just feed off it. They just feed off it, and I think I always like whenever they switch. The opposition sometimes do it, don't they? Where they switch at at the start of the game. If they win the coin toss, they'll switch it so that we're shooting towards the opposite end at the second half.
Yeah,
but I think it's a mistake because Mark probably able to find it statistically, and we have talked about it before. But I reckon if we play towards that goal in the first half, we go 2 or 3 up, and the game's dead before it's even begun, really. And it's I feel so lucky to have a season ticket in that stand, because it is just it's the most fun I've ever had watching Wrexham in my entire life. Definitely, it's amazing. Can't put it into words, really.
I don't know if it was the last time a team turned us around. Nobody's turned us around this season. But the last time I remember was Chesterfield, when, if you recall, we just came flying out of the traps and we were 2-0 up in no time. And although they did fight back, we won that game in that first 20 minutes because the pace was absolutely ferocious, wasn't it? And I agree. I think that's a big, big part of how we are constantly doing this, because let's be honest, we didn't start doing it this season, did we? We've been doing it now for 2 seasons and before this. And I think part of it is this incredible relationship with the fans. The fans believe, they don't turn on them. The fans are patient, and the players believe because they've done it so many times. And it feels a bit beyond the normal football fan player relationship. The players know that the fans love them. The players know the fans worship them, and the players know that the fans have got complete faith in them, and that gives them confidence as well. I also think, I remember talking after the Crew game to Andy Morrell. Oh, and ironically, Dave Artell, who of course played for Gibraltar, not Liechtenstein, as some have said. And they were both, pretty sure, yeah. And they were both agreeing that there comes a point when Wrexham are putting the pressure on like that, where it becomes a question of just when will the other side crack, not if. That when Wrexham are piling it on like that, and you think about it, we've done it a lot in the last 20 minutes of games over the course of the last 2 years. It's a question of when the other sides will break down, because they're just not. They by that point they're just clinging on. We've tired them out. We've worn them down. Sometimes we haven't played well, like last Saturday, but nonetheless, we still worn them down. And then when that point comes where we just start to pen them in, you don't feel like teams are defending well. They're clinging on. If you remember back to last Saturday, I mean, gosh, we had those 2 chances in the space of about 5 seconds where Fletcher hit a great shot. Well, Fletcher was 1-on-1, and it was an incredible save by the keeper. And then it came back out, and cross came immediately back in, and Davis headed it wide. We had the one where there was a shot, was it Mullin from close range that was blocked, and then it span away, and then Davis ran deep in the box and his shot was blocked. Those are both in the space for a few seconds. They weren't defending well. They were staggering around, just waiting for us to land one properly on them. And that's why they cracked. And then, like I say, 55 seconds later, they cracked again. And I think we do that to teams with just our relentless pressure. It's brilliant, isn't it?
I don't think I'd quite stopped celebrating before I realised that the ball was being passed to Sam Dalby before he crossed the ball in. It's like, yeah, still giving it all this, and turn around like, whoa, go on.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy, Chay. Like you think of the last couple of seasons, and you got the mad game when we beat Stockport 3-0, even though we didn't go up on the back of that. It still looked like we could have at that point. The games against Dover and I know Barnet 7-5. It wasn't quite. They weren't in control at any point or anything like that. Or there's all these. I could go on and on. The Notts County game, all these crazy games. That if that Salford game had happened in 2016, we'd been talking about that game for years. But there's a good chance when you start looking back at this period that game might fly under the radar, mightn't it?
Well, you've just proven your own point, because the Swindon game, the Crewe game, we've had two more this season like that. Yeah, exactly. We do it so often, it's hard to remember them all. Mad.
Oh, yeah, I remember talking to Mark when we left the ground on Saturday, and I said, we never used to score 2 goals in the last minute. I remember when I was younger, I was like a teenager, we did it to Kettering in like 2008 or something. I remember walking out the stadium like, this is the greatest thing ever. We scored 2 goals in the last 2 minutes. We just seem to do it all the time right now. And a lot of that's credit to the fans, because I think when the fans get on the players' backs, it does make a huge difference. A lot of credits to Phil Parkinson for installing a belief in the players, in themselves, that they, chances will come and we will score. And on Saturday specifically, a lot of credit goes to Jordan Davis and Stephen Fletcher, who come on, Neil, and really did make a difference in the game.
Yeah, and it was good that they actually came on early in the second half, which gave them enough time to turn the game around. And as Mark said, the pressure just seemed to build. Last 15, 20 minutes, the pressure just built and built and built and built on Salford. And then they were struggling defensively. And you could see, I think I saw Jordan Davis there trying to get the fans even more wound up and behind the team, and Mullin does it a lot as well, which is great. But no, it was great to see Parkinson brought on the subs, quite early in the game. Yeah, even after winning that, the keeper made a fantastic save to keep it at 3-2, right on the virtually the last kick of the game. I know I struggled to pronounce his name, Mark. I'm sorry.
Okonkwo.
I've got to say, Okonkwo. Let's have a little bit of appreciation segment for Okonkwo, because Bill, he's a young goalkeeper, but he looks cool. He technically looks really, really good. I think we might have a real prospect on our hands here.
Yeah, he's just done a podcast with Mark Howard, doesn't he? So that I haven't had a chance to listen to that yet. So I'll have to have a listen to that. But I like that, that how Howard and Foster had a good relationship. It'd be nice to see them two get a good relationship, because Mark Howard, you've got to say, you could say was a little bit unlucky to lose his place in the side. But Okonkwo comes in, and there's a lot of pressure coming in, isn't there, when you're replacing a senior player? But you wouldn't know he was only 21, would you?
He's a remarkable physical specimen for the start, isn't he? That save that Neil talked about, I mean, that was just ludicrous. That when you got your 6'6" target man, 6 yards out, meets it perfectly, heads it down in the bottom corner, and I was just like, it's a goal. And then, oh, hang on, it's not. Somehow he's managed to get across to that. That was just astonishing. And let's not forget, in terms of quality and depth, because we didn't have a show last week, we didn't get a chance to heap praise on Luke McNicholas, who had a superb debut at Crewe. And it's not that he had super difficult shots to deal with, but the way he dealt with them, his handling, I thought looked superb. Looks a really good technical keeper.
Yeah, he beat me to it, Mark. I was going to mention him as well. I thought he had a fantastic game at Crewe. Yeah, I thought Okonkwo had a couple of scary moments during the game on Saturday, but on the whole, he's superb. For a young lad, he's doing very well, and to keep Howard out of the first team, he's got to be proving something in their training. So, it's up to him whether he keeps his place now.
Yeah. And a quick word on Howard, really. He's a real goalkeeper's goalkeeper. He talks a lot about the goalkeepers union. He's got a goalkeeping, podcast, which is all talk about goalkeeping. He's so positive about being a number two. He's actually the perfect number two you could have in a squad like we've got. He's got experience. He's willing to work with other goalkeepers. So yeah, big shout out to Mark Howard. Again, I think we'll probably be seeing a lot of him this season, and he's a really important part of the squad. But yeah, that was Salford. Another fantastic win at home, and following that on Sunday, the women's team had another crazy game, but in a different way. After this, we're going to be talking about that crazy game against Pwllheli.
I'm Neil Roberts, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, Sunday, a very different to the men's team. Sunday, Wrexham women ladies trounced Pwllheli 13-0. Unfortunately, I was looking after the lads, so I couldn't. I had one eye on the game and one eye on them. But Mark, what a result, really. But a lot of credit has got to go to Pwllheli for really, for having a game plan and really sticking at it when they really could have fallen to pieces.
Yeah, I got to say, I think it's important to say that we were too good for them. It could have gone differently if that game had started differently. It was a really tricky pitch, and if they'd been able to nick a goal early on, you never know. But yeah, we did outclass them, but they showed a hell of a lot of heart, and they showed a good amount of quality. It's just that the best teams often aren't the teams who are able to do good things. They're the ones who are able to do good things constantly over 90 minutes, aren't they? And so they had moments where some of their players did ever so well, but then also moments where they had lapses, and a few of the goals, were definitely preventable. It was a bit weird to drive across Wales, and then after a nice 2.5-hour car journey, 7 minutes into the game, it's finished now. I'll just go home, shall I? Because you could see once the second goal went in, you're thinking, yeah, it's hard to see this really turning out anyway, other than Wrexham will continue to push on. But like I said, Pwllheli didn't let their heads drop. I mean, if they had let their heads drop, it could have got really ugly. And you've seen plenty of teams let their heads drop, and they didn't at all. They kept going to the very end. But no, it was a superb performance by Wrexham, though. I mean, really, really shut off the possibility of an upset very early on. It was brilliant. And Ava Suckley, 6 goals, it's quite nice. I'm sure. Wow. Scored a good double hat-trick.
Yeah, you certainly don't see them very often. But in many ways, as much as I was really happy for the Wrexham for winning 13-0, I can't help but feel a little bit sorry for Pwllheli, to be fair. Bill, we have got such a bigger budget compared to what they have. We have a lot more, better facilities and what have you. So it's too, women's football is still at a very developmental stage. It's really hard to compare what we've got compared to what Pwllheli have got, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what level did Pwllheli play at, Mark? Is it the league below Wrexham or 2 leagues?
It's 2 now, although I think it's also indicative of how we've grown, because 2 seasons ago they were in the same league as us and they beat us. So I think it shows something about how we stepped up.
Well, that kind of puts a different spin on it to where I was thinking, but we're signing players now who used to play for the likes of Liverpool and Aston Villa, and as much as, again, like you say, Chay, the women's game is in a completely different stage of development than the men's game. Being 2 divisions above a team in the men's game, there's still going to be similarities, isn't there? So if you take a Premier League team and a League One team, the fitness levels, you'd imagine, are on, maybe not the same, but on par with each other. The level of coaching, you have to be certain standard to be a league manager. You need to have coaching badges and all that sort of stuff. Granted, there's gaps, and a team like City would be putting their kids out and still beating, I don't know, let's say Barnsley. But the gap that we've created, and we're not the only team, but the likes of Cardiff and such as well in the women's game, it's not comparable, just because the size of the teams in that league they're worlds apart now, aren't they, Mark?
Oh, absolutely. And those chasms naturally get exaggerated. I mean, for example, looking at Wrexham, right, in comparison to Pwllheli, before the match, we've got our new sort of strength and conditioning coach warming them up, Zoe. And, Pwllheli haven't got the scope to even think about employing someone in that role, have they? I mean, to be fair. So that's where you see us pulling away from other teams. But then, by the same token, that sort of investment's vital, but it doesn't bring long-standing results immediately, does it? So when we played Cardiff, we did look very tired at the end. I'm not trying to say that's anything to do with our strength and conditioning coach, because he hadn't had a chance to really get working on them properly. But, we're making a step up. And, this year for us against those bigger teams might still be a transitional season, because we're just starting to get the benefits out of that improvement in the infrastructure, and that won't happen overnight. So, do you see what I mean? It's like we're pulling away from smaller teams who just can't have the budget to do that sort of thing. But clubs like Cardiff and Swansea have already had that sort of advantage. We still have to try and catch up with them, and that'll only happen over the passages of time as the spending on the infrastructure kicks in and really helps those players. But we it is exciting to see that there's an awful lot of good people working around that team as well, and experienced people around it. And I can only develop the players. I mean, some of those players are players who played against Pwllheli 2 years ago, but they've been able to step up a level or two. And then, like you say, you've got players like, for example, Hannah Keriakopoulos, who was a Welsh international, only managed about 15 minutes or so far this season, because she came off the bench in the first game, scored a goal in the 90th minute and got injured. But she's a Welsh international. You've got Karen Allen, the new captain, who played for West Brom, and oh my God, I mean, she's just so calm on the ball when she's carrying it forwards. It's just brilliant seeing a centre-back just so smoothly go on like that. And then we rested players on Sunday, and then some of them came on. Players like TJ Dickens, who is a proper centre mid, who was just bossing the game from then on, So, yeah, we got terrific strength and depth. And we scored 13 goals, and Rosie Hughes only got one.
I take my hat off to you, Mark. Fair play to you, driving 2.5 hours to the other side of the country. I think, it's great you've done that, and just as well, because it was the first live streaming for the women's team away from home as well, which I think, I do take my hat off to you for putting yourself out there and doing that on behalf of the women's team and the fans all over the world. You could watch that game live.
Well, that's very generous of you, Neil, but it was genuinely a pleasure. I don't know why, but doing the North Wales drive, whether it's the A55 or, going via Bala, I don't know, there's something about it I love doing. I just love seeing the sights. I did make it 2.5 hours by trying to make silly videos for Twitter as well. I could have, which now don't tell Mrs. G. I did at one point realize that I could be about to kill myself at one point, because going along past the reservoir, of course, Cofiwch Drywerin, sorry. And I thought, this would be an interesting video. So I took a video from a lay-by, and the forest was kind of hiding the lake. And I thought, if I scramble down the hill in the forest, I'll get a good shot of the lake. And I did. But as I was doing that, I was thinking, this is how people die, isn't it? They decide they're going to go down a mossy slope in the woods, and then they slip. And they're in the middle of rural North Wales, and they get discovered 18 months later. It wasn't the smartest thing to do. And I took a slight diversion to go that way. So even if people thought, we'll have a look along the route he took from Wrexham, they probably wouldn't go back down that way. So, I did have that thought as I scrambled on the moss and looked at the drop in front of me of, was this wise? But it was all in the name of Twitter, so it was okay. It's what Elon would have wanted.
Mark, please don't again. Take care. We're driving.
I wasn't when I was drove very conservatively. 20 miles an hour, baby. That's my motto.
Let's get back to the football. It was nice to see Wrexham fans in Pwllheli as well, who were there, probably from Pwllheli. But Neil, the women's team, the Sunday, I like to call them the Sunday team, actually. The Wrexham Sunday team, it's a really good opportunity for people who maybe can't afford or get to the Saturday games because of work to watch Wrexham still and to still be involved, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's an ideal opportunity, whether it be, it's not like going to the other side of the country of England or down to London. It's as Mark said, it's a lovely drive across the whole of North Wales, across to Pwllheli, and watch the women's team, and it's very affordable for them. You can take your family there, and the kids, and I watched the live stream game against Cardiff, and the amount of families there with the girls. It's great to see, and they're getting behind the women's team, which is great for the Wrexham team. To have supporters going watching them and even travelling away. And I think that'll only grow as time goes by, as more young girls get involved and start following the Wrexham women's team.
And it's interesting, I think, Chay, what you said about Northwest Wales Wrexham fans as well. The owners have made it very clear that they feel there's scope to really capitalise upon that support that we have across North Wales. And it was pretty obvious to me how many people in the crowd were from Pwllheli or around there, but were supporting Wrexham. So that was a good sign, I thought, as well.
Well, I think, yeah, and exactly. And, it's tremendous, the international support we get. But for us to really grow, we are going to have to become the team of the North, aren't we?
Yeah.
The international fans obviously won't be able to make every game, and with the streaming and the revenue from merchandise and everything, and having that unique fan base. Yes, the international fans are very, very important, but it's also very important, Bill, to capture that whole of the North. To be, Wrexham is the team of North Wales, and it's so important that we try and pull everyone in North Wales for that one team rather than them picking the Premier League side, which they usually would.
Yeah, I think it's also fair to say that North Wales has a rich history of some very big teams, the likes of, for what is essentially regional football in a lot of ways, likes of Real, Bangor, Carnarvon, Prestatyn. They all have teams that are very well supported. I mean, Carnarvon take loads to games, don't they? I've got a huge soft spot for Bangor, and I remember when I lived there and I went to Bangor Real games, and there'd be fighting and helicopters and all sorts. Like, they're big sides that have a lot of history, and they're not particularly Wrexham fans. Just because we're in North Wales, they support their own teams. So we've got to, I think you're right, Chay, in that we've got to convince them, even people like that if they're going to pick a team that's in the English system, they don't pick Liverpool or Everton or United, they pick Wrexham.
I think that's happened a lot more now, isn't it? People are deciding to follow Wrexham rather than, especially the younger kids, they're supporting Wrexham rather than the bigger city teams in the Premiership. And I think North Wales is, along the coast, has always been renowned for a good Wrexham support. I mean, now there's a coach comes all the way from Anglesey every week for a home game.
Yeah, the Bus Terrace.
Yeah, and I think even go down to Mid Wales. There's a big support in Mid Wales for Wrexham as well. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Chay. We've got to draw that support in as we grow the football club. And my uncle, who took me for the first game that I ever went to, he came from the other side of Denby, up in the hills in Hentland. So there is a lot of support over that neck of the woods for Wrexham, which I thought, as you said, a lot of them would have gone to watch the women's game of Pwllheli on Sunday, because it is quite close for them over that neck of the woods, and there's a huge support on Anglesey for Wrexham as well. So long may it continue and grow.
I mean, if you think about it, quite apart from the primary intention of investing in the women's team, which is their success, it also serves to help advertise the club and promote the club, doesn't it? Because to my mind, if you look at it, we've got three potential areas to grow the support. One is the international support, which is essentially, or not exclusively, sort of English-speaking countries like, New Zealand, Australia, USA, Canada, really caught onto the TV show. You've got the North and Mid Wales diaspora who might have a soft spot for Wrexham alongside their local team, or might just be out and out Wrexham fans. And the women's team going around those sort of areas helps a lot. And then there's also the modern, if you will, fan who will decide, regardless of their geography, that they will just support whatever team they fancy. So, although the owners talked about, fans around Britain, and I thought that was a bit fanciful, but I think I was being a bit old-fashioned. I got the idea that nobody from the Northeast is going to support us because they've got good clubs there. But actually, younger fans are just as likely, especially as they can stream so many Wrexham games, to just pick a team they fancy as follow a local one. So we have some scope there. And the women's team, I think, are brilliant ambassadors for that. The show about the women's team, the episode on Welcome to Wrexham, was brilliant, unsurprisingly, because they're brilliant.
Exactly. And I seriously think we are going to catch up to Cardiff and Swansea over the next 10 to 15 years. Because, just for example, today I was in work. On the other side of my work, there's there's a football pitch that people hire. And there was a girls' and a lads' team. I don't know, the local team. I don't know who it was. Training today, each one of them had Wrexham tops on of some sort. You didn't see any other football tops. And when I was a kid, it was all sorts of football tops, from United to Real Madrid. But everyone wants to wear Wrexham tops now. And then that's it's really embedded into the youth of Wrexham and the surrounding areas. So they're going to teach their kids in 10 to 20 years' time, that we can be a real colossus in Wales. And I really do think we are going to catch up to Cardiff and Swansea very soon. That's a good way to end that segment, isn't it? So after this, we're going to talk to Mike the Ref and our Mike the Ref segment.
Hello, I'm Mike the Ref 1974. This is Dragonheart and #Ask Wrexham. I'm here at the wonderful Animal Sanctuary and we're going to discuss serious foul play. But before I do, here's some serious foul, some Orpington chickens that we can play with. So what is serious foul play? Wrexham in the last couple of games have had two players sent off, Cannon and Barnett, sent off for the same offence. So what is serious foul play? It's where a player uses excessive force or essentially tackles dangerously with 1 or 2 feet. There are my naughty chickens. So what is the referee looking at? Well, he's looking at, firstly, the contact of the player. Was that given with excessive force? If the answer is yes, it's a red card. So we'll look at the Cannon tackle first. Cannon's come in late. No doubt about it, the player had possession of the ball. Cannon's come in from quite a distance, jumped in with 2 feet, hit the bottom of the ankles, put the lad in the air. That is a classic serious foul play red card. Absolutely no issues with that decision. Deserves a red. Silly tackle. Referee was in a good position, looking right at it. Out comes the red card. Off goes Cannon. So as we move around, there's nobody in that. There's got a little calling ducks there. So we look at the Barnett sending off, which is a little bit more complicated, and this is where we go a little bit into the definition and the reason why Barnett was sent off. And I know this has caused some debate whether it was a red card or not. Get my thumb out of the way. So, why was Barnett a red card? The definition is the player goes in dangerously or with excessive force with 1 or 2 feet either from the front, back or side, endangering the safety of an opponent. So what Barnett did, when we look at it and break it down, the ball had gone. So when you look, free frame it at the point of the tackle, the ball was about 5 metres behind Barnett. The referee was in a good position to see it. Barnett has gone in with 1 foot extended, and his foot has dangerously hit the ankle of the Crewe player low. On my first reaction when I was looking at it in the ground, I was the other side of the pitch, 8 rows up, sort of level with it. It was a red card. When I reviewed the highlights, I thought, ooh. But when you break the definition down, he's gone in, not so much excessively, but dangerously. 1 foot stood showing in a hard tackle, caught the Crewe player on the ankle, caught the Crewe player on the leg. For me, the red card was correct, and I know the appeals panel have looked at that the same way. So that covers the serious foul play, where basically the player has not gone for the ball or made little attempt for the ball, but dangerously taken the player out. Another aspect could be the player could go for the ball, but goes in dangerously and with excessive force, wins the ball but takes the man. That could also be a red card. So serious foul play covers a wide range of definitions really, but when you break it down into its simplest form, that's it. Got a couple of queries about the suspension as well. Why has Barnett got a 3-match ban? Cannon got a 3-match ban. Suspensions are laid down by the FA, by the Regulatory Commission. So for example, 2 yellow cards. The Ducks want to say something. The Ducks are telling me this. So player sent off for 2 yellow cards will get a 1-match ban. Uses foul abusive language is 2 matches. Any violent conduct or serious foul play at the moment carries a 3-match ban. So a point was made, a player goes up and headbutts another player, that's a 3-match ban. Whereas like Barnett's tackle goes in late, endangers the safety, that is also a 3-match ban. So the bans are not determined by a panel, they are sort of fixed penalties, so that is why both players have got a 3-match ban. So hopefully that's give you a little bit of a whistle stop for 3-4 minute tour around serious foul play. As usual, any questions, just contact me at Twitter at MikeTheRef1974 or use the hashtag @Wrexham. This is Mike the Ref for Dragonheart with some calling ducks who are calling, some of my naughty chickens and some well-behaved Orpington chickens over there who I'm told are all Wrexham fans. I'm Mike the Ref and this is Dragonheart.
Well, it's always great to hear from Mike the Ref. Hopefully, we don't have to ask him too much for the game on Saturday. Huge game against Bradford. Neil, how nice is it to be playing huge sides like Bradford again? Now we're back in the Football League.
It's fantastic. As I said earlier, you know, wherever we go, we seem to have everybody wants to come and watch Wrexham, whether it be the home fans or the, you know, we always sell out the away end anyway. But yeah, it's great. You know, to think there may be 26,000 there at Bradford, which you haven't had to do in the Premiership. So it'd be a great atmosphere at the game on Saturday, and yeah, really look forward to it. But and I'm sure Mr. Parkinson will have his tactics right, all being well. I mean, we seem to do very well away from home in our defence, and fingers crossed the same happens on Saturday.
Oh, of course. Well, if you are an international fan, you can tune in on iFollow. I'm sure Mark Griffiths will be doing commentary. And if you're if you're in the UK, it will be on Wrexham Player audio wise. After the match, there'll be the hot take, and within the days there'll be the final whistle. There's also the women's game on Sunday against TNS, another big game and another big test, which I'm looking forward to. Bill, Mark, have you got anything else to add?
I think it's good to remember that the last time we went to Bradford, we were in the middle of the second crisis that could have closed our club down forever, and the Bradford fans had a bucket collection on our behalf. And I think it's good to remember that things all seem more adversarial now, but Bradford are good guys, and I think we should remember that when we go there. They're welcoming hosts.
Yeah, huge club as well, absolute massive club. Bill, you got anything to add?
Well, I was going to say something about bantams being small chickens, and now Mark's just said something really nice, and I don't want to ruin it by joking. So I think I'll just say I'm looking forward to seeing us beat some small chickens up.
Well, that's any vegans watching. I'd just like to say that is not the official line of Dragonheart.
No, my missus and her daughter are veggies, so I think they'll beat me up for even implying it.
Good, absolutely.
And I'm also looking forward to us hopefully beating TNS on Sunday as well, which would also be equally as sweet for obvious reasons.
The trouble is though that it's Aberystwyth, isn't it, this Sunday? I'm just double checking.
Oh, is it Aberystwyth? I thought it was TNS.
Yeah, it's Aberystwyth this Sunday, and then it's TNS the Sunday after. So
right, okay.
We can really build up to that, can't we?
We can really build up to that. Yeah. Well, Aberystwyth. Well, I don't really have very strong feelings about Aberystwyth. I still hope we win, but
I must say, Chay, I think the reason you're saying that is because when we were driving back from the Salford game, I gave you a lift home, and I was talking about how we're playing TNS next because I got mixed up.
Right.
I mean, you got to remember when I give you facts like that I don't know the difference between one microstate and the other. I've got no chance.
Yeah. TNS, Aberystwyth, Liechtenstein, Gibraltar.
Yeah. All I know is that there's a big rock in Oswestry, isn't it? Isn't that? Yeah. The Barbary apes live on. Yeah. I've been to Malta.
Well,
it wasn't Cyprus. That was what I booked for. But
everyone, I'm really hungry. I haven't had my tea yet. I've had enough of talking. So, thank you very much. This has been a great show. This has been Dragonheart.
I'm Tommy Cows, and this is Dragonheart. There you go.